For those who have witnessed a wedding objection during the Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Peace portion, what happened? I was working at a wedding when I was younger. I was running the bar at the reception, which was very close to the hall the weddings were at. We were told that the reception would begin around 4 p.m. It was already about 3 ish and I was packing fridges, the usual barman things, while one of the male guests was still sitting there drinking. I asked if he was not joining the reception, to which he replied something along the lines of "when I have the courage." He downs his drink, and leaves. 10 minutes later he's back, looking extremely disappointed. Guy orders a drink, and less than 30 seconds later another guy who's dressed extremely well, turned out to be the groom, walks in, punches him in the back of the head, and leaves. This dude just picked his drink up and sipped it further. I eventually found out that this dude had downed his drink, walked into the receptions down, admitted to sleeping with the wife on her hen night, and again the night before the wedding. He was never invited to the wedding, he just felt the groom needed to know. So he found out where the wedding was, suited up and dropped the info mid-ceremony. My aunt was getting married to her second husband, and during the Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Peace bit, their baby started crying. The dude officiating it said if anyone older than 6 months has any objections, speak now or forever hold your peace. He got a laugh and the wedding carried on. They're still together 10 years later, so I guess whatever my cousin had to say was misinformed. A lot of these stories hinge on an unflappable officiant who makes a witty quip and keeps rolling. I hope people not yet married reading this thread take away the importance of hiring the right person to officiate. I bet the laugh in that room was solid. It was a medieval-themed wedding. The best man declared his love for the bride. Challenged the groom to a fight for her love. They march outside, draw swords and go at it. Apparently they choreographed 2 nights a week for like 6 months, but it honestly looked like they were trying to kill each other. The groom wins and everything goes on like normal. 0_ weird but cool. Edit corrected groomsman to groom, thanks all. Laughing face, this is super cool, but to really fit the theme they should have had a third man do the challenge and the best man fight on the groom's behalf. The best man was originally essentially a bodyguard, both from other potential suitors and the bride's family, since weddings and kidnappings would often be the same thing. He was meant to be the best swordsman the groom knew and stood guard right up until the marriage was consummated. So I'm attending this ultra-chill beach wedding in small-town Canada. I don't know most anyone because it was my ex-step-aunt's, so my brother's family I never see. It was fun anyways. The bride flew in on a seaplane and all the chairs were set up on the sand. Anyways, the groom is from Trinidad and Tobago, so all his relatives traveled a long way and had cool accents. There was a party before, we were all a little bit tipsy. So as the ceremony progresses, everyone is watching, getting teary from the vows. Then the line comes, any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony? Speak now. Nobody expected this. The father of the groom gets up, flailing, and a collective gasp followed by silence overtakes this tiny venue. We're all waiting with bated breath, but he's just standing there with glassy eyes. Turns out he was baked. This 70-plus man in a suit and dreads laughs and says, "No, I kid," and the whole spirit of the audience cheers up as he sits back down. Rest of the reception, people are going up to him saying good one or scolding him. Damn good night. Best wedding I've been to. When I was 13 we went to my second cousin's wedding. Everything is going great. They even got past the speak now or forever hold your peace part. They wrote their own vows, but before my second cousin's fiancée/wife could even begin her vows, his son got up, announced to the entire room that she was cheating on his dad with her drug dealer and he couldn't let his dad marry her. My second cousin yelled at his son to either sit down or leave. The son left. My second cousin married her anyways, and 5 years and 1 baby later he finds out it was true and they separated, but were too tweaked out to be able to afford a divorce. Finally he got married a 3rd time, but before he could get married his 3rd now ex-wife had to pay for their divorce. This wedding had no objections. They moved to Missouri, and this time instead of separating or asking for a divorce, he decided he didn't want to be married anymore and just moved back to Cali to get back together with his second ex-wife. Yep, family dinners are a little awkward. Groom's dad interrupted the wedding to ask the bride's father whether or not she was truly a virgin. Then he went on about how he didn't know anything of the wedding and blah blah blah. Truly weird and embarrassing. I was there with an ex-boyfriend. Edit, he is my ex-boyfriend. When the groom's father interrupted the wedding, the bride's father, officiating the wedding, did in fact say it was confirmed. I have no clue how or what. They seemed to be super conservative and wore sleeved dresses, long hair, etc., and were AF American. They eventually showed the father-in-law out and continued with the ceremony, which was super awkward afterwards. It was literally as if I was on prank D. Said ex seemed to find the ordeal entertaining because she was humiliated. This was his family, bride, and that sort of sealed the deal. Something was wrong with the guy. We broke up a week later. Got booted out of my cousin's wedding reception with about 20 other people. My cousin had her wedding on a farm with a massive pig roast. From what I remember, there was a massive amount of people. Anyway, her father and my other older cousin never really got along. At one point during the reception, my older cousin had enough and absolutely lost it. He looked at a handful of us and asked if we had his back. Of course we all nodded, not really knowing what was about to happen. He disappeared and a few minutes later comes back with a 20-pound bag of pork meat from the leftover roast. He walks down to where my cousin's dad is. My aunt proceeds to yell, "Lonnie, no," and smacks him right in the side of the face with the bag of meat. An all-out family brawl ensued. The whole family hasn't been invited to a wedding ever since. I once went to a wedding where both families were Irish. GF knew them, but I didn't. At the ceremony, the groom's ex-wife started shouting and was gently directed outside. I couldn't hear what was said. The reception was amazing, nice venue and all, but a bunch of guests had brought their own instruments and just started jamming what I can only describe as a genuine Irish jig. This went on for hours and remains a lasting memory of oral beauty. But I digress. There was a lot of booze, there was no responsible serving of alcohol, and I'm certain it was by design. At some point I used the men's room and was curious if I'd just seen the groom in a stall, door open, with someone who was not the bride. I didn't know these people and it might have just been someone else, so said nothing. Some time later and the GF states, "Seriously, we should get going now." "Yeah, sure." We grab our and head downstairs. I see the suspicious fellow again in the stairwell going to absolute town on this same lady. GF grabs my arm tightly and keeps walking past, mumbles a thank you for the invite. I just smile and follow cause it's all weird. Yep, that was the groom. Octopussing his ex-wife. At his own wedding to another woman, the bride genuinely seemed a gem. The look that woman gave us as we passed was this smugly dominant "I always get what I want, yeah, drunk as glare, wow." They had some reasonable bubbly in a tub for people to take home, and who would know or care if we horked a few extras. I got it all explained to me after we were in a cab and well on our way home. I never got a follow-up to that story, but 10/10ths on the music. Would tag along to an Irish wedding again. Not speak now part, but well, you'll see. Friend of mine was getting married in the park under the trees because both of them were nature people, and groom had a dog that went everywhere with him that wasn't allowed in any church because dog, despite being well trained and quiet. There were some rows of chairs with lots of people filling them, including groom's mother who was sitting with his dog. Bride and groom were at the front with the officiant. Officiant begins. Officiant comes to the part where he says, "Do you take?" Groom's dog, Shadow, began to howl a loud, long, mournful howl. Everyone laughed. Officiant started the question again. Loud, long, mournful howl again. Everyone laughed. Groom told Shadow to come to the front. Shadow ran up, stood directly in between the bride and groom, and the officiant started again. Not a peep from Shadow. Her vows. His vows. Officiant looked at Shadow and asked, Shadow, do you take bride and groom to be your lawfully wedded parents? Shadow barked one single bark. Officiant concluded the ceremony, everyone cheered and clapped, and Shadow barked 3 times, the only times that he made any sounds. Not kidding. Beautiful dog too.